Hi you guys, it's that time. I'm ready to do my 2024-2025 fifth grade homeschool curricula picks. That's a long title. I'm really glad we only do this once a year. Are you ready? I'm gonna flip you around. Let's go. Since we're in the state of North Dakota, these are our requirements. We have to do math, ELA, science, health, social studies, and PE. So what I thought I would do is start with science because nobody ever does that. We are a secular family, which means we don't ascribe to any religion, but all are studied. So we're not too bothered by any kind of Christian curriculum, and especially The Good and the Beautiful has really, really good, these are the best 2-week or short unit studies for science that I can find out there. They're affordable, they work for us. So Morgan picked chemistry this year, and that is her little workbook. The read-alongs for that are the Book of Elements. Ooh, this should be actually really fun. This should be fun to do. The Story of Alice Ball, Marie Curie, and then the other one Morgan chose is Marine Biology. You can get this for free, everything, except for their read-alouds. You can get it for free for downloadable PDF on their website, but because their printouts are so good, and I've been printing out a ton of stuff and I'm sick of doing it, I just decided to go ahead and buy the book because they can do a better job than my printer. And with that, there's her workbook. And the read-alouds are Dive, Explore Coral Reefs Around the World. You don't need this. And if you look through it, you can get something very, very similar out of the library if you choose. The same with Dangerous Sea Creatures. So you really could do this unit study totally for free if you wanted to. The next one she picked is Motion and Simple Machines. We're both looking forward to this because Morgan's going to do an internship at Rolog next year. That is where she will learn to actually work on steam engines. And so I thought doing this before September will really help prepare her for her little internship there. There's her workbook. And the read-alouds for this are Motion and Sports and The Story of Invention. What should we do now? Let's do math. Morgan has done alpha, beta, and gamma, and she is starting delta this week, actually, in the 4th grade. And we're going to do as much of this as we can in the 4th grade and then continue on in our little summer school that we do. And I think that she will only have about 3 or 4 weeks left of this when 5th grade starts. So I have ready for her Epsilon. And I kind of like to tab it to give myself an idea of how many weeks it'll take to get through. This is on par with 5th grade work, and I think she'll actually finish with this before the end of 5th grade and then move on to the next one, Delta. We really like the mastery program here, and we plan on sticking to it for a while. History is something we both really love, and we've enjoyed the story of the world and will continue to use it. One of the things that we realized this year is I had a geography program all ready to go, and we didn't use it at all because there is a ton of geography in this history. And in fact, they sell it as geography and history. And so every time we cover a chapter, I take our globe and I spin the globe and I tell Morgan to tell us where we are, and she'll stop the globe. And this is kind of an example of the pictures. She'll stop, for instance, if we're learning about South Africa, I'll spin the globe and she'll stop the globe and point to South Africa. She's getting really, really, really good at identifying all of the rivers and all of the different parts around the world. I prefer world history to American history right now. So I'm loving this book. Now, American history will come in here. We've done some early North American history and South American and Central American history in this one, and we'll continue on in this. You don't have to get the activity book because if you want to use this as a geography book along with this text, you can just photocopy this if you want. But we do get the activity book because it's bigger. But this year I didn't buy the hard copy because what I found is I don't use all of these. They're really for sort of, they pan across ages. And Morgan's just at the age where she doesn't want to color Hannibal's war elephants. But what I do like is these for printout. So I got the PDF this year and I use this and I print this out, and then I'll give Morgan instructions on what to point to, or, you know, put a dot where, I'll take this off and then have her put a dot where Rome is or Sicily. I'll mask it or something, and she'll have to identify the Mediterranean Sea, etc. So I bought this in PDF for that reason. Also, what is helpful to have in PDF is ideas if you want to read more about something that you are learning. the book here gives you ideas and books that you can find. Now, somebody had said that they're hard to find. Occasionally, I have found that to be the case. But once I start looking for that book, it's really easy for me to kind of go down the rabbit hole and find something very similar. Also, in PDF this year, we're going to get, we have Volume 2's version of the test. For the same reason, I photocopy the tests a lot and have Morgan practice throughout the week in answering, because it generates, as she does her open book quiz, it generates conversation and discussion. It helps her remember the context and the text of what we're learning. And it also helps with Morgan's notes, because we are learning to annotate this year. And let me see if I can find any annotations. So we're learning the very beginnings of annotation and what we want to highlight in a book. So that is what we are using this for. And because we kind of repeat over and over, I got it in PDF so I don't have to do the printouts. A new thing online that I found is also review question worksheets, which I flipped through and decided to buy in PDF also, because I think we can use those, not necessarily for writing, although we can write them, but it helps with verbal narration as well. In addition, this is my favorite book. I love this book. If you can't find it in this book, it doesn't exist on the globe. It has everything in all sorts of, as sort of minimalist here, if you want to give your kid photocopy this, and then they have to identify what is A, what is D, what is C, and write it out. And then they'll have different kinds of versions. Let's see, here you can see more the terrain. And so I have found this is really, really fun to print out and give as like a really fun pop quiz. Two readers that we have, this is my sister's, my oldest niece, she's 23 now, I think. This was hers, and it starts all the way from the earth. I don't care how old you are, this book is great, and every page brings you a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and then finally you are where the child is, looking down at a bug, and then you look at the bug. So it gives you a really good idea of what happens when you get closer and closer and closer to something on a map. And then here is a great way to start teaching your kids mapping by encouraging them they can look at maps, but also it says to go to your room and draw a picture of your room, an overhead view or a bird's eye view, etc. And where are you on the globe? Where are you in front of your house? And this is great for all ages, really. Along with history, because I don't think you can do history without doing religion at the same time. They are intertwined. So when we are covering something in our history book, we have covered Islam, and I think we covered, what else do we do? We're just starting with Christianity in book 1, and we've talked about Buddha, and we've done Hinduism. So this is sort of just a little wheel, and if you recognize this, Betsy and Giulio Maestro, I use all of their books for American history because they're so pretty and easy on my eyes. So this is very busy. This drives me crazy. That's really busy for me. I'm not a fan of that. But this is helpful to when we get to a chapter and it says, well, look at this picture in the book, when it doesn't have it, for instance, in Susan Weiss Bauer's book. We can then pull it up and go, oh, well, that's what it looked like, or that's what they did. So that's what we use it for, and we don't get that out for any other reason. But this is so nice because it's meaty material to read as the child has something really interesting to look at. And this covers I think 5 main religions, and then the North American religions and African religions. We're going to keep this on hand for forever. And then I think everybody has one of these. Who doesn't have one of these? We also, some people use this more than we do, but we really only pull this up when we want to actually see kind of a picture of what's going on in the story of the world. For you foreign language moms out there who have already seen my March French homeschool update, you will already know that we are adding on by Morgan attending the Well-Trained Mind Academy next year. And Morgan's Alliance Française tutor is using à la une right now, and we are going to move to A+. But we're not going to let this one go. Morgan's going to stay with this book as she works with her tutor throughout the summer. And likely, we will also continue to have a one-on-one tutor with Morgan for French in the 5th grade as she goes and attends the online class for the Well-Trained Mind Academy. And that's new. That's kind of a big deal for us. But she will continue to do Duolingo. I wanted to make sure I had a sticky to remind myself to say that, because Duolingo moves at a different pace and track than school. And that multidimensional approach keeps things a faster pace and fluid, just as language itself does. But I wanted to also add on an idea, something that's really fun. I found this in the library, and I'm going to look for this and see if I can buy it and keep it. French culture and cooking. And if you're a French language or a foreign language mama, you can see that there are also loads of other things that you can do. So there's Chinese, Indian, Italian, Japanese, Mexican. And in fact, the Well-Trained Mind Academy also teaches, let me see, it's French, Spanish, German. I think they do intro to Chinese, and they do Japanese and Latin. But I like this culture in cooking because it walks you through, who doesn't? Food, we all know that breaking bread is like a really big deal, right? And that's how you get to know people, especially in other countries. If you know about their food, then you probably know about their culture. And I think that this would be really fun to work through, because Morgan and I already make crêpes together. It's really easy. In fact, we do that more than pancakes because I think they're easier. And I really want to do the Alsace onion tart because I grew up eating that. And so I looked at the recipes, and they are, no kidding, authentic. Although I'm not sure. I think one of these is duck. It's kind of hard to get duck around here unless you shoot it yourself, which I'm not interested in doing. This goes along with a long-term project that I want to do with Morgan, and that is, here I'm showing you my book for my homeschool, and in here I specifically have, let's see, where is it? I specifically have a location for world schooling. So we will be world schooling, and we'll be going to some French-speaking countries next year. And with that, I'm going to make a thing for Morgan, because one of her long-term projects will be to plan the world schooling with me, to prep, and I'll give her a little homework of topics. I'll write in topics, and if you notice, this is in Cornell note form. So I'm going to start Morgan with Cornell notes and practicing with that. I'm not going to be picky about what she does and where she puts things. I just want her to see the note form that many people use and are successful when they study. What I'll do is I'll give her topics in her little book. This one's mine, but she'll have one. And she'll have things that she'll need to do. So this is her travel checklist, but I'll have her prep checklist, and it'll be things like looking for train tickets. Where should we stay if we go to Lyon or Marseille? Where would we want to stay? Do we want to backpack across, or do we want to fly? How do we want to do it? What are the buses like? How much does it cost to take the metro in Paris? How much does it cost to go to the Louvre? And if we go to the Louvre, should we use an entire day? Which the answer is absolutely yes. You could spend a whole weekend in that place. And so I want to make that a long-term project for her as well. Let's go into long-term projects. I have one more, and I talked about this in my entrepreneurial video, but we are going to use fantastic food trucks and morph it for a pop-up bakery. And this sort of gives you an idea. It helps generate ideas and questions, and it's just as easy if you have a kid who wants to do something entrepreneurial. It's just as easy to read through this and create your own as well. You'll have menu and logo and name and the whole works. But why I like to do is have Morgan do a no kidding pop-up bakery where she puts it out on my Facebook page that she's baking X, Y, and Z for this Saturday, and this Saturday. Put your orders in, and then she will bake them according to cottage food law and in a commercial bakery that I hope that we're going to tour soon, and I hope that we will be able to use. So that is two long-term projects that we're going to do for 5th grade. Now let's cover, I've got PE and health at the same time. And I really want to put, along with health, I think that social media falls under health as well, because it's the health of your safety, it's the health of maintaining your own integrity online. And so along with this health book, that'll kind of be the spine, I got this on Amazon for a song. I mean, it's not that expensive. It's the Mark Twain Media Publishing Company, Health, Wellness, and Physical Fitness. And it, no kidding, covers everything. It covers drugs and alcohol and tobacco and communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases, nutrition. I mean, everything. I have not been able to find anything that is this comprehensive in just such an easy format. And it goes through genetics, and you can do your family history there as well. So along with health and PE for that, we do swimming is a big deal. We do jogging and hiking, volleyball, yoga, and Morgan's been going to gym with me. She's starting to do that and not lift like super heavy weights or anything, but understanding what they're for and how to use them, gym etiquette and all that stuff. So this will be our spine. And I found these at the library, and I thought these would be a really great thing to add on. And this really covers fake news, how journalists work, and news bias. This is a big deal. And so we've been talking about what is true and what is not true. I wanted to make sure I had notes here too, because if you have a bigger kid, you can read things like, there's a former FBI agent who wrote a book called Messing with the Enemy, and it talks about how Russia was injecting fake news through social media that ultimately ended up on main newscasts. Everybody was felt guilty or fell prey to it. NBC, Fox, ABC. No one particular was guilty any more than the other. That's something that an older kid could read. And also Countdown to Zero Day, the Stuxnet and the launch of the world's first digital weapon is so interesting. It sort of gives you an idea of people messing with each other online and cybersecurity and that type of thing. So if you want your kids to learn about posting on social media, before they do, tell them the horrible things that can happen, but teach them how to be smart. And so these are just some really easy flip through and reads that I found at the library that we are going to return. And then when it's time to cover social media and health, we will know that they are there at the library and we can read them. What I have seen through these books is that they don't appear to be slanted one way or the other. And I know we're all sensitive to that, right? So these books seem to be as fair and neutral as possible, while also addressing that no matter what your political or religious view, no matter what it is, all of us need to be aware of this. And I mean, a kid is a kid, no matter what we believe in, we all want to keep them safe. And so these books seem to be appropriate for all of us, but you choose for yourself as well. Take them and check them out for yourself. Along with health, I think financial health should fall under that as well. And Morgan is going to be investing this coming year. She has enough money for a mutual fund. And so I found this and I read it while Morgan was doing her homework at the library. I read through this and I think this is an example of a really good book. For what I don't like is sometimes they're too cartoony, or I think they're just silly. And yes, they've got like superheroes and everything, that's fine. But sometimes it's just too simple when, you're talking about the stock market, it's not simple. So, we don't have to make it cute. Let's just talk about it. But this in a simple form, yes, but it doesn't have to have cartoons everywhere. And that's what I like about this is it talks about everything. So what I'd like to do is read that to Morgan or have her read it before she starts investing. And along with these books, I'd like to see if I can because when I was in the 5th grade, I vaguely recall doing CPR. So I'd like to see if our fire department will give Morgan CPR classes or if our school does it. And also we will be covering sexual education. And we ascribe to more like the European sexual education, where we take all of the feeling out of it and all of the beliefs and faith and just talk about sexual education, the safety of it and the respect of it. And so ELA is huge, guys. This so far has been working for Morgan, so I got the next book for Explode the Code. She is looking forward to starting vocabulary cartoon of the day. I like this idea. She can just read those as she's really starting to become interested in different words. She used confluence of events on me the other day when we were talking about something. I was trying to give her the long version, the more simplistic version. And she said, "You mean it's a confluence of events?" So, I think it's time for vocab. And because of that, I am rethinking Fix-It Grammar, because as I was reviewing, their highlighted words are vocab words, essentially. And I think they're too simple for Morgan. While I like the Fix-It program, not the Well-Trained Mind, although we're doing that one. While I like this book, I have started to become interested in Michael Clay Thompson. His grammar is very similar to this. The difference is the vocabulary within it is better. It's more literature-like. and a higher quality, I think. And so we may switch that out. But diagramming, we do like diagramming. So we have gone from level 4, their last book for the younger kids, and now we're going into what I call maintenance mode. There's all colors. There's red, yellow, purple, and blue, and Morgan chose purple. It doesn't matter what you start with. They are all, you can pick, they're lateral. You just, when you're done here, it's maintenance. So you just keep doing one after the other. You don't have to take a year to do it. You can do it faster. You can do it slower. You can take 2 years to do this. It doesn't matter. This is simply to keep your skills up. But it is necessary to buy this one, the core instructor text. You only have to buy it once. It's for years 1 through 4. The core instructor text will help you with any of the color coded books. Now for writing, I've already got a video on this because I wanted to cover it more in depth, but this will be Morgan's blank journal that she will do, kind of like writing every day, 3 minutes, 5 minutes of writing each day. This came online, I think it was just a few bucks on Amazon from a company called Procon. Morgan has already started with her how to write a novel before you're 13, before you turn 13, and you read a chapter here, and then you can work in the workbook. Our spine essentially for this will be, I got this off the Well-Trained Mind. It's by Boris Fishman. The Creative Writer Level 1 5-finger exercises. And what really struck me here is that it talks to the writer, and I like that. This is for Morgan. She gets to read that part. And then let's see, okay, so part 1 is fiction and part 2 is poetry. We're really big on poetry here, and that really spoke to me. I really want to do this with Morgan. And then how to write an awesome paragraph in case she needs a little bit of a help or a reminder as we come back into the 5th grade. This is super quick and simple. Just do a little bit each day, a little bit of reminders, and done. I think maybe this will take a week or 2 and she'll be finished with it. All right, we have literature. It's a mammoth, you guys. So I want to start with poetry because it's a fantastic place for you to kick off your literary trip through homeschool. Kids can read an entire page in 10 to 30 seconds and get a world of meaning out of it. A reluctant reader might even enjoy flipping pages faster if they're used to being stuck on one page all of the time. They may view poetry as something more accessible. Why? Because instead of a mammoth page, they can do one whole page and feel like they have learned so much, because that amount of poetry can fill their minds with many, many thoughts that maybe a chapter or 2 would take a novel to actually do. So if you're not sure of where to start, just start. And I would really encourage you not to use the baby poems or overly simplistic poems, because our children understand so much more, and quite frankly, you're going to get really sick of those poems. So I started Morgan a couple years on Caroline Kennedy. That was a great place for us to start. And her other book, A Family of Poems, she has several that she wants to read. Every page is just glorious to read and look at, so you can read them aloud. We memorize them. We memorize the ones that we really like, and that's how we use those. So further on, we have this year, we're going to read some poetry from Joy Harjo. She is an American poet laureate. This is Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings, and I have her other one. Where is it? This one I love, An American Sunrise. This I've listened to as well, and it's wonderful to hear her. Then I have Tales of Juha, classical Arabic folk humor. Rumi, the essential Rumi, and some of them are long. Oh, look, since it's used, it looks like those dates must be important to somebody. I love finding this in used books. I actually keep them in there. I found a flower in one of them. I think I showed you guys on a video. I still don't have Chinese poetry. I found a lot of Arabic poetry and bought that. A Year of Hafiz, that's what we'll pick. We'll pick and choose from there. Dylan Thomas. We have stories and poems for children. This is all sorts of stuff, and it's huge. So you can use this. I already dog-eared some things that I want to do, but you can pick and choose. There's the short stories there, and then along here there's probably more short stories than poetry. Now, if you're not sure where to begin, I think this is a really great book. This is from IEW, Poetry Memorization, and it starts off really simple and really sweet. There's no timeline to this. The first one, Morgan and I memorized it, just lickety-split. It's so cute and catchy. But then it very quickly moves away from too childish stuff on to other things and much bigger. We memorized a few from here, but we very quickly became interested in many other things, and we want to keep this as reference. Why? Because as you get along in the higher levels, there's serious, like the speeches in here, give me liberty, and let's see, strenuous life, freedom from speech, freedom from fear speech. This is just really interesting stuff. And then of course you saw Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I will read this aloud to Morgan. I'll probably read it aloud, and then I'll have Audible read it to us, because I think there's one that has background noise and stuff, so we might do that. If you don't know where to start, the Cambridge Guide to Reading Poetry is a real great thing for you to read as a homeschool mom. And then for older kids, it gets more like 5th grade and above. Oh, okay, now I'm understanding poetry better. Now I appreciate the poetry that I've read. Same with this. How to read literature like a professor for kids. I'm holding on to this for Morgan to read later, so we won't necessarily use that as curriculum, but it's helpful to have that on hand and be able to read. And for moms, you should read this. You should read this, and you should read that. And this book I picked up because I'm beginning to look for African American artists, political artists, Native American artists, just all people, all different colors and lifestyles and events around them. And Muhammad Ali really struck me because I remember him as a child, and I knew that he wrote poetry. There was some stuff I found really interesting because when I ordered this, I opened it directly to one of his or two of his most famous poems, and this one I had just watched on a YouTube video where he was being interviewed by Irish television, and during his interview he recited the poem about Attica prisoners. And I really encourage you to also envelop the idea that it doesn't have to be Martin Luther King and it doesn't have to be Lincoln. There's so many other people involved, and Muhammad Ali was one of them, and he went and spoke. He did the commencement speech in 1965 or 67, I think, at Harvard. It's fantastic. You should watch it. It's available for free on YouTube. And so we're going to take some of his poetry and read it along with history. Now, if you've seen my homeschool update video for this month, you will know that we are going to get into plays and that we're also going to start reading Shakespeare next year. And I picked Twelfth Night. So I'm going to pair this with the movie, essentially the cinematic play of the Twelfth Night. We will study this. And I like No Fear Shakespeare because you can read the Shakespearean English here and modern English here, which is very helpful. What I will probably do is we will likely watch the play and then we will listen to the play being read to us on Audible. I'll pick a good one. Then what I will do is likely highlight people that Morgan wants to be, and I'll read the rest. Then we will read the modern side of the play together, and she will play roles as we sit and read, and I will read my part. After that, I will read the Shakespearean English to her. And by then, I'd like to do this as we'll take 2 weeks off and we'll do nothing. We won't do math. We won't do morning routine. We won't do science. We won't read anything else. It'll just be Shakespeare for 2 weeks. And I don't know, it could be too much. We'll see. But from there, we'll do other things because we can, let's see, Masterpiece. There's like Master Classics online, I think, has a whole thing on how to read and understand Shakespeare. This is the Bard of Avon. I bought this for just a couple bucks on Thrift Books. And this talks about his story. So we'll read about Shakespeare and why we are still to this day reading Shakespeare. We won't do more plays that I have planned. We might do more. If this turns out okay, then I can add another one on. It doesn't have to be a Shakespearean play. I can add any other play on, except for, please, I don't want to read Crucible again. I don't think I can do that. I'm so tired of Crucible and Death of a Salesman from my own school. I don't think I can handle those two plays. But, you know, no loss there if we don't do those two. So if Morgan's really into it, then I'll pick up more, but I don't have any planned now. Essays. We will start with Self-Reliance. And I really like Rikki Tikki Tavi, so we're going to read that. Another short story is The Birds by Daphne du Maurier. And then for something creepy for Halloween, we will read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We're already reading some of these. The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. She's a controversial writer. A lot of people actually had some things to say about her and were very upset about some of her short stories in the 60s. And so pre-read some of these, especially for younger kids. Not every fifth grader should read these. And then we'll read Leo Tolstoy's How Much Land Does a Man Need? And I think that's it for short stories. Let's see. Let's cover the novels. Let's cover novel in verse first. I got this book idea off of Prayers and Crayons, another homeschool mom on YouTube. So I went to the library to pick this out and read it, and I like it. And one thing, this is an example of if you have a kid who just doesn't feel that great about reading, especially when they see nothing but words and words and words, novel in verse is just a great way to start. So there's the other words for home. And then Alone. Morgan and I read this one and we loved it, but we both hated super hated the ending. But I mean, it's not a bad ending. We just didn't like it. But it's a really good book to read because it's just simple. And by simple, I mean it's simpler to read, but the ideas and what's going on with her and her struggle when she's alone is not simple. And there's so much empathy. And the dog, we love the dog. So this is really worth reading if you're interested in novel and verse, or if you haven't read one before. And then Inside Out and Back Again. And this is also a sweet book. This is partially nonfiction. This is by Frank and Ernestine Gilbreth, a sibling duo. And this is about their life growing up with parents and a whole mess of kids or brothers and sisters. So I think a lot of us would like to read about that. And then here's a nonfiction, The Soul of an Octopus. This is Cy Montgomery. This is a real popular book. Many of us have seen this online or in the bookstores. But what I wanted to do was pair it with her essay that first was published in Orion magazine on the octopus. And then we can read that. Another nonfiction is How to Live on Mars. We may not make it to fifth grade. I think we're going to read this very soon. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. I plan on actually taking Morgan to Anne Frank's house when we fly to The Hague next year, and I'd like to read this before we do. I'm going to zip through these. Call of the Wild, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and then Toni Morrison's essay on reading Mark Twain. The Alchemist, and an essay by Shauna Hadi about why she does and doesn't like The Alchemist. So I want to involve also essays along with short stories and poems and literature. War of the Worlds, The Outsiders, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Fahrenheit 451, To Kill a Mockingbird, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I love that picture. Let me move these out of the way. King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table, Binti, and Morgan's first Jane Austen, Emma. And lastly, I want to cover some things that we might be able to use on Fridays when we have slower time, but we still want to do school. I like the mind benders. Morgan really enjoys word ladders. And I picked these up and really like them. I love this. It's sort of, we can quiz each other on which capital city is that. It's a whole bunch of quizzes. And you can do this as an open book too. Like, what is the capital city of Yemen? And okay, maybe not everybody knows that it's Sana'a, but you can spin your globe and have the kids first find Yemen and then find the capital of Yemen. And this one is very similar, the Gigantic Geography quiz book. It's a little bit different because it does cover other things like flags, tourism. Let's see, what else do they have? Political geography, languages, climate change. And so this is really interesting. Things that I wouldn't necessarily know. Which city has the most hotels? Okay, well, as this was published, I don't know, Beijing. That's my guess. But I would like to do more fun things like this where we're learning and we're looking at the globe and we're talking about things and kind of integrating what we've already learned that week or throughout the year and using all of our brain skills to figure these things out. You think that's enough? I hope that was helpful for you and you were able to get some ideas off of it, or even know that there might be a certain type of curricula that I'm using that absolutely wouldn't work well for your family. That, in my opinion, is just as important, if not more important, because you don't want to waste money. From my house to yours, I hope you have a great homeschool weekend. See ya!